Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the live start of our webinar dedicated to using business models, especially the Nature Smart Cities business model, to value future green infrastructure projects. This project, or this webinar, was initiated by the partnership of the Nature Smart Cities project, which is a collaboration between cities and academic institutes across various countries in the Northwest Europe region, or in the northwestern part of Europe, in the UK, in Belgium, in the Netherlands, and in France. And this project, which has been running for several years now, is fully dedicated to supporting cities make the case for choosing green infrastructures over the traditional, more straightforward, but can I also say perhaps more boring gray infrastructures to shape their cities and their public spaces. But today's webinar, we aim to show you the work that has been done in this Nature Smart Cities project. We will also share with you the preliminary results of the work that has been done, especially towards developing a business model for valuing green infrastructure projects. And we would like to present you with opportunities to engage with the project, to make use of the results and tools that are generated, and to benefit from capacity building work that the project is setting up. So we have a program set up for you where we hear from researchers and practitioners in urban green infrastructure to know more about the context, about the development, and about the prospects of this Nature Smart Cities business model. And we'll showcase various pilot projects and green infrastructure investments that have been taking place or are underway as part of the Nature Smart Cities project. So we have a quite full and diverse menu ahead of us, but we also hopefully have a nice diversity amongst our participants. And so before we dive in, I would like to launch a very quick poll to know a little bit more about you as participants. And we'll run a few questions by you. The first one is to find out what country you're from. So can you please select the option that reflects the country you're from, or if it's not on the list, the one closest to where you're from, perhaps, and let us know where you originate from. And as we see the numbers coming in, I'm curious to see if the geographical area that we anticipated to be represented on the map on the base of your registrations is nicely covered by your participation. So I wonder, colleagues behind the scenes, do we have a full count yet of the votes? So if so, we can
we
show
have
on screen.
78% voted.
78%. I'm happy at 80. So 2 or 3 people more. Please click. I would love to click myself, but I'm afraid this option has been blocked for me. So let's have the results. Maybe we can see what the participants tell us. Right, so we see the United Kingdom in the lead. The red bar is a good sign in this case. And we have a nice representation from Belgium, the Netherlands, and France as well. And I see that the second question outside of my screen has also already been launched and addressed, which was in fact to find out what type of organization you work for. So you've been diligently doing your homework as pollsters. We see that many of you, around 50%, are local authorities, which of course reflects very much the focus of the tools developed by Nature Smart Cities, complemented by regional authorities, universities, urban planners, and other. And this is always a nice, curious, mixed category to find out what other means. But maybe we'll find out in the course of today's webinar when we start interacting with you and hear more about you as participants. Now we have one final question set up, and this requires a few extra acts. I would like to ask you to grab your smartphones and open your camera, because we have set up a Mentimeter question where we would like to explore your thoughts about the concept of Nature Smart Cities. So could you please scan the QR code that's in the screen and you should automatically be directed to an open question. We would like to know, what do you think of when somebody says nature smart cities? What is the first word or the first phrase that comes to your mind? And of course, you may say that you think of the project Nature Smart Cities, but I could imagine that this concept also brings more, well, colorful or personal connotations to you, or professional ambitions or ideas. So we would like to know what you think. And I think that we see some movement in the word cloud that comes from your contributions. Learning from nature is one that comes to jumps to my eye as a very interesting angle. Green nature. So rather than thinking about cities, we're thinking about green and natural places. Biodiversity, which of course is one of the important elements of preserving and rolling out green and natural spaces also in city landscapes. There's a reference to healthy places, flowers, nature. Some of the words are actually so small that even my prescription glasses don't allow me to read everything. The environment, climate change. So there's quite a few angles that hint at your professional backgrounds and your professional interest in nature smart cities. It seems that there's a good coverage of what you could call co-benefits or ecosystem services that you can connect to the development of green infrastructure in cities. They bring extra quality in terms of green, in terms of health, in terms of nature. They bring important capacities in terms of preserving and enhancing biodiversity and adapting to climate change, two of the primary challenges of this day and age that have to be and can be addressed through developing green infrastructures. I think many of these topics and many of these angles will come up in the course of today's program if we listen to our speakers and interventions and to our panelists. So I'd like to thank you for these contributions. We'll save the word cloud and share it with you at some point later, of course, after the meeting. And at this point, I think it's a good moment to give you a little bit more background about the Nature Smart Cities project. So I would like to invite our first speaker on the screen. And her name is Anna Oxenham, and she is the project manager for the Nature Smart Cities project on behalf of Southend-on-Sea Borough Council, who is then the lead partner of the consortium of Nature Smart Cities. And Anna would like to update you on the project as well as on the program and the approach for today's webinar in more detail. So Anna, go ahead.
Great. I hope you can all see my screen, and thank you very much for your kind introduction, Tako. I just wanted to quickly introduce the Nature Smart Cities project to you all and briefly run through the structure this webinar will take. So the Nature Smart Cities project is an Interreg 2Cs project up to the value of 6.38 million euros. The project started in September 2018 and will run to August 2022. I'd like to now quickly introduce the project with the help of our short animated video.
Around 3/4 of Europeans live in cities. Many of these cities are dealing with the effects of climate change, such as heat stress, air pollution, and flooding. The high density of paved surfaces, roads, and buildings further increases these effects. We can do something about this. Trees, rain gardens, green roofs and walls, and other vegetation help to cool cities on hot summer days, capture heavy rainfall, and improve air quality. Research shows that green infrastructure provides a range of other benefits, such as increased biodiversity and improved human health. However, cities often find green infrastructure expensive or difficult to implement. The Nature Smart Cities project aims to support cities to address these challenges. 8 city partners and 3 academic partners in the UK, Belgium, the Netherlands and France have joined forces. Together, we will develop a business model to promote green infrastructure solutions, bridging the gap between research and practice. The model is based on evidence that we collect through interviews with local authorities and analysis of geographical, biophysical and economic data. We also review existing valuation tools and finance options. The model is tested, validated and refined through 7 green infrastructure pilots: Southend-on-Sea, Cambridge, The Hague, Capella, Antwerp, Bruges and Lille. A step-by-step methodology will support cities to use this business model to implement green infrastructure and build climate resilience. For more information, visit our website, naturesmartcities.eu.
So, as the video described, the main output of the Nature Smart Cities project will be a business model to support smaller local authorities and municipalities, that's those with populations less than 550,000, to make the business case for green infrastructure solutions over more traditional grey approaches. A better version of the business model will be ready in January 2022, and the final version will be made available later in June and July of 2022 following our capacity building programme. And we'll hear more about that later. Today's webinar has been designed to take you through a logical story of how the project is working to deliver this business model. We will start by setting out the challenges. Firstly, we will hear from Phil about 2 inputs to support the development of the business model that have enabled us to identify and understand the challenges and barriers faced by local authorities and municipalities. And we are keen during this webinar to hear if these challenges are similar to those you may have or may actually be experiencing right now. We will then move on to describing how the business model has been developed and designed through a process of co-creation between our academic and city partners, bridging the gap between scientific research and practice. This part of the webinar will comprise of a presentation and be followed by a panel of some of our city partners, so we can hear firsthand about their experiences in being involved in the development of the business model and how it will support them to overcome the barriers they experience in delivering green infrastructure projects. This will then be followed by a summary of the results from testing the application of the business model to 5 of the 7 green infrastructure pilots being delivered under the Nature Smart Cities project. We will then hear about the business model in practice, how it will work, what it will look like, and the outputs it can provide to its users. A clear message we would like to communicate today is that our business model is still evolving. We will continue to test and refine the model with our partners, and more importantly, start to bring in other local authorities and municipalities to this process. This will help to ensure our tool is fit for purpose and meets the needs of our intended users. So lastly, to end the webinar, we will hear from Tana from the City of The Hague, who will share information on how you can get involved in 2 opportunities to refine the business model going forward. The first being further demonstrator testing of the business model with 4 local authorities outside our project partners, and the second, a capacity building programme being rolled out across the 4 project member states in 2022. To find out more about the Nature Smart Cities project and to stay updated with news and opportunities, please visit our website and subscribe to our newsletter. If you have your mobile phone to hand, you can scan the green QR code in the bottom right-hand corner. This will take you to our homepage where towards the bottom, you will find the newsletter subscription option. We also have a very active LinkedIn page and would like to invite you to follow it. The QR code for this can be found in the blue box on the right-hand corner too. So So I'll leave those QR codes up for just a moment longer, but that brings me to the end of my introduction. I'd like to thank you all for joining us this morning, and I hope you enjoy the project presentations.